If I were the devil, I wouldn't need bombs. I wouldn't need blood. I wouldn't even need to show myself. All I'd need is time and a generation willing to trade purpose for pleasure. You want to know how I'd destroy the youth of a nation? Easy. I'd entertain them to death, addict them to distraction, empty their minds while making them feel free. I would make them believe they are the center of the universe, while quietly turning them into pawns. Welcome to the show. Let me walk you through my masterpiece. First, I'd hijack their joy. I'd flood their world with noise, endless, mindless noise, viral videos, shocking headlines, sensational drama. Not because it matters, but because it distracts. I'd glamorize stupidity, turn ignorance into influence, give them idols with millions of followers, but no depth, no discipline, no wisdom. I'd make them believe they can be rich and famous without talent, without work, without time. That fame is the goal and meaning is a joke. Their dreams shallow, their minds numbed, their hearts empty. Why study? Why create when you can scroll and scroll and scroll? I'd turn attention into currency and they'll beg for it. Beg for likes, beg for validation, and the more they beg, the more empty they become. Then I'd shrink their world into a glowing screen they can't live without. I'd program machines to study them better than their parents ever did. I'd design algorithms that know what they crave before they do, and I'd make them believe it's freedom. Freedom to scroll, freedom to escape, freedom to waste away in a dopamine loop. The more they tap, the less they think. The more they scroll, the less they feel. I'd engineer their attention span to collapse, make deep focus feel painful, and distraction feel safe. Books? Too slow. Conversations? Too awkward. Silence? Terrifying. They'll beg for more content, but remember nothing. And when reality comes knocking, they won't know how to answer, because I already built them a safer world. One they carry in their pocket, one they'll defend. Even as it devours them, then I'd whisper, "You are what you own." I'd turn shopping into a personality. I'd make them believe that debt is power, and impulse is freedom. Treat yourself, I'd say. You deserve it. I'd lie. I'd brand them with brands. I'd feed them trends faster than they can breathe. I'd blur the line between desire and addiction. A new phone, a new identity, a luxury bag, a rented status. I'd convince them to trade long-term peace for short-term pleasure. Buy now, cry later. They won't own anything, but they'll defend the system that owns them. Financial freedom? Irrelevant. Just keep them consuming as long as they're distracted by desire. They won't notice the cage. Now, let's talk about education, or what I've turned it into. A factory of conformity. A place to forget how to think. I'd strip curiosity out of the curriculum. I'd test them on answers, never questions. I'd punish the dreamers. Call them problem children. I'd reward obedience, not brilliance. Stay in line. Color inside the box. I'd never teach them how to question power, or how to explore meaning. Philosophy? Pointless. History? Boring. Spirituality? Dangerous. I'd convince them their only value is in grades, and their only future is a job, not a calling, not a purpose, just productivity, until they forget what it means to be fully human. I'd make knowledge a burden and ignorance a lifestyle. Next, I'd tear them away from each other, not with war, not with walls, with ego. You don't need them, I'd say. Family is toxic. Friends are fake. Trust only yourself. I'd convince them that love is weakness, that vulnerability is a flaw, and I'd let social media do the rest. Comparison, jealousy, isolation. Everyone connected. No one truly known. They'll post selfies, but never share their soul. I'd fracture the family. I'd shame tradition. I'd reward division. Loneliness becomes a lifestyle, and the screen becomes their only companion. When the world gets too real, they'll retreat deeper into themselves, thinking they're strong, when really, they're alone, and alone minds are the easiest to conquer. And finally, I'd steal their purpose, not by silencing them, but by giving them the wrong wars to fight. I'd flood their feeds with outrage. I'd give them villains to hate, and never understand, I'd convince them that tweeting is activism, that hashtags are revolutions, that yelling online is changing the world. I'd wrap manipulation in morality. I'd feed their anger until they forget what they were angry about. They'll feel powerful while I pull the strings. I'd exploit their hunger for justice and feed them causes that divide instead of unite. Gender wars, class wars, generational wars, me vs. you, us vs. them. And while they tear each other apart, I'll profit, I'll legislate, I'll reshape the system without them noticing. They'll believe they're changing the world, but really, the world is changing them because you don't need chains to enslave people. You just need to blind their purpose and give them a fight that leads nowhere. So, if I were the devil, this is how I'd do it. I'd entertain you until you forget to dream. I'd addict you until you can't think straight. I'd bury you in debt, dress it up in fashion, and sell you freedom in a cage. I'd turn your school into a prison of repetition and call it education. I'd separate you from your parents, from your culture, from your roots, so I can make you mine. I'd trick you into thinking rebellion is just buying more of what I sell, and while you fight over scraps of identity, I'll own your future. But what if I don't have to do any of that anymore? What if you're doing it to yourselves now? What if I planted the seeds decades ago, and now you water them every morning with every tap, every scroll, every like? What if you are the generation that built its own cage and called it freedom? But here's the thing about cages, most of them don't need locks, just belief. And the moment you start asking questions, the bars begin to bend. The moment you disconnect and reconnect to something real, I lose. So ask yourself, who's really in control? And who are you becoming?